Welcome to Jills of All Trades podcast. I'm Cinnamon with countrycraftswood.com.
And I'm Julie, and we have a great show tonight. We'll be talking about the repurposing examples that we couldn't get to last time, but we still wanted to cover them because we think that they are really important. And also we were going to talk about what to save in your home. Is that right? How we save in our home and what to do with kids' belongings and memorabilia? Yeah. Or is that how we're working it?
Yep.
But first we wanted to start off with our scripture verse. And mine is Proverbs 28:19. And I love Proverbs because it's like this huge glob of wisdom in such a tiny little capsule. And I felt like this really went along with kind of not our sovereignty so much as just our what were we created for? We were created to be kind to each other and to love each other and to serve God. And I think He also wants us to be taking care of the earth. And so this one says, again, Proverbs 28:19, it says, "He who tills his land will have plenty of food, but he who follows empty pursuits will have poverty and plenty." And last week where we were talking about ways to save money and to economize in our homes, honestly, for me, I think the best way that we did that, the way that we kind of dug our way out of poverty, was that we didn't really have any empty pursuits. Everything that we did was kind of, we were single-minded. We were like, we're going to not be slaves. We're going to be able to raise our family the way that we feel like we want to and the way that we're led by God. And in order to do that, we need to not be in debt. And so part of that, a big part of that, was nurturing our soil so that we had plenty of food and didn't have to worry about food, and thus we could focus on the things that God wanted us to be doing. So
right.
That's my scripture.
Yeah, and that actually goes along with if you do have plentiful, you not only have enough for your family, but you can also give to people, Yeah. So, which is really, really awesome. God always provides, way more than we even need,
Yeah.
My verse is actually, it's a couple of verses in a row, but it's out of Matthew 18, verses 15 through, we'll do 17. So it says, "Moreover, if thy brother shall trespass against thee, go and tell him his fault between thee and him alone. If he shall hear thee, thou hast gained thy brother. But if he will not hear thee, then take with thee one or two more, that in the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses every word may be established. And if he shall neglect to hear them, tell it unto the church. But if he neglect to hear the church, let him be unto thee as an heathen man and a publican." I was looking at this because there was this subject talking about, do we confront people about, what's wrong, and or do we just say, you're forgiven and move on? Do we talk about it? Do we get it out in the open? And I was looking at these verses, and it says to address these things, and it kind of goes along with the verse that says, don't let the sun set on your anger,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so it's best to solve any discrepancies that you have with someone and just them at first, and if that doesn't work where they won't hear you out, then, it says to get more witnesses and stuff like that. But I don't know. I'm more of a, my family's very, upfront about stuff. Like if there's something going on where it just doesn't feel right, or there's, somebody hurt somebody's feelings, my mom always told us to say, "Forgive me." And you know how hard that is for a little kid to say when they are so angry? Like, it's not, "I'm sorry," and you'll hear some people say that and you're like, "No, say it right." So my mom would make us say, "Forgive me." And so, and it would, I can remember sometimes it'd be like, "Forgive me." And as soon as I'd say that, then my heart would kind of soften and it would totally change,
That's really tender.
Yeah.
What a good idea.
She's very very good with a lot of ideas. You know, she definitely, before she had any of us, she prayed and she said, Lord, if there is anything that, give me red flags. If there is something that's going on that may seem small to me, but might have a bigger impact on who the children will be and how they serve you, bring it to my attention, you know?
Yeah.
And she's a great mom.
That's amazing.
And actually her birthday is this Saturday. She'll be 60 years old. Does not look 60. And I'm really excited because we're going to all be able to be there and have a good birthday party for her. So,
that's so fun.
I'm really, really excited. She, to help earn money, she would make cakes and have garage sales and stuff. But God gave her a really good talent. She would make graduation cakes, wedding cakes, like, she's a complete artist, very natural, definitely a God-given talent. So it's nice because I'm going to make the cake for her and see if I can, practice a lot of the things that I grew up seeing her do. Like, I know, and it's funny because she's like, okay, now you are going to line it and, line, and I'm like, yes, Mom, I know that. I've seen you do it a million times and,
Funny. So. It's not just moms.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So, Julie, what's been happening in your gardening world this week so far?
Well, we had huge excitement. Yesterday, our woofer showed up, and it has been amazing. For those of you who don't know, a woofer is someone that travels to different organic farms and learns how to farm, and the farmer gives them shelter and feeds them while they're there, and yet doesn't have to pay for labor. And so it's a huge blessing for the farm. And so our woofer showed up today, and it was a huge. Oh my gosh, we got all of the hay unloaded that needed to be used as mulch, so that it freed the trailer back up. And what else did we get done? It just meant that a little bit more of my time I could go and get things watered. Because once you have things mulched, it kind of gives you a window of not having to weed for a little while and just being able to address other things. So we got the front row garden. It's all completely mulched with our alfalfa hay, and our pole beans are looking so good that I decided I wanted to plant another row of pole beans so that we can can some dilly beans this fall.
What are dilly beans?
It's like a cucumber pickle, except you do it with pole beans that are really tender.
Oh.
And they stay crisp a lot better than homemade pickles. They are to die for. They are our favorite kind of pickle.
I'm definitely gonna have to try that sometime.
Yeah, you'll have to try them. They're delicious and they're so crunchy. And you know how sometimes a cucumber pickle can just be a little bit too much. You're just like, oh, I don't want to finish the whole thing. With the dilly beans, they're just a pole bean that got pickled, and so when you pull them out, it's just a little bit of a pickle. And so you can sit there and it's never too much. You just pull out another one if you want it.
Speaking of pickles, real quick,
yeah.
I actually, my one gardening friend, her name's Deb, she gave me some pickled beets, and I'd never had them before. So they are an acquired taste. I do like the regular better, but what happened was yesterday I had an 11-hour day shift, so I did not get to the grocery store. So I didn't have any fruit. I didn't have any leftovers from yesterday. I didn't have anything. So I ate the entire jar of pickled beets today during lunch. It was a lot at once.
You're tough. Wow.
But you know what? It's really funny because I had a lot of energy.
I'm sure you did. Ugh. I have never acquired a taste for any kind of pickled beet or any kind of like sweet pickle, like the bread and butter pickles and things like that. Mm-mm. Yeah, it's not a flavor that I celebrate. I have had some cucumber pickles that were done in a sweet brine with Red Hots, the candy Red Hots.
Oh.
And those actually taste like a very, very crunchy cinnamon apple. And and they're delicious. They're really, really good, but you have to kind of not tell people that they're cucumbers, otherwise it creeps them out a little bit. If you just let them think that they're apples, it seems to not screw up their palate.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, and I was going to say along the lines of you having your, is it a woofer? Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
It popped in my head, many hands make light work, and it's so much easier to get stuff done when you have that extra person that helps, especially, a little bit of muscle and stuff. So that's awesome. So you got all the hay, you said, unloaded, and...
Yeah, we got about 2 tons of hay unloaded and spread out, half of it in the backyard and half of it around the row garden. And we had 2 sets of baby rabbits born this week, so we're excited about their manure. Really excited about that. They're so cute and squirmy, but and didn't you, how much acreage do you guys have in your garden? Now, you said that Derek went out and did a bunch of rototilling, but how much actual, did you ever tell me what your square footage is?
It is 80 feet by 80 feet, so it's 6,400 square feet.
So it's really big.
It is huge. About half of it is not into row. About a fourth of it, less than a fourth of it, is what my original garden was. And then in the other part, and how I said that, he videotaped and all the dust was going up in my eyes or my face, and then bugs were biting me, and I was just like, ah! I look like a crazy person, trying to get the rows together. It was very entertaining, I'm sure.
It sounds amazing.
But I planted 2 really long rows in there, so there's a lot of stuff that I could probably, or a lot of room that I have. Next year will definitely be easier because he'll be able to help me in March, because it's before his mowing season will start, or right around the time, but there won't be a ton of people, just depending. Ohio is so bipolar. I've had a day where it hailed, and then it was sunny, and then it was freezing, all in one day. Absolutely ridiculous. It could not make up its mind. So basically, we'll be able to do that in March, so I'll be able to really use that field, But there are a couple of things that I can still plant in June. So this week's been really busy with trying to plan everything with our podcast being released next week. And also my mom's birthday and, working a bunch and all that. So when you were talking about the mulching and how there's a period of time in between mulch and then when the weeds start really growing, I am actually at that point where I really shouldn't be letting it go anymore. I really need to get out there and start weeding. But the rest of my weekend is taken up. So I think the soonest I can get out there might be Monday. And it's only, and it's, right now it's Thursday. So I'm just they look bad already. I can only imagine. Because we have newspapers and stuff, and we haven't gotten to that either. We need to get stakes made for the tomato plants. We need to do is it trestles? Is that right?
Trellises.
Darn it. I'll remember it one of these days. So a trellis. We need to make some of those because he wants to save I was going to use some chicken wire, but he wants to actually save that to build to help his area that he wants to put together for them to be outside. So he needs that, and we don't want to buy any extra because it is kind of expensive. Actually, it's really expensive. So I don't know if he knows this, but he's going to make me some trellises, and then then we have to do the newspaper. So there's a lot of things on my to-do list for the garden. So next podcast, hopefully I can list all these things that I did get done.
That you got done.
Yeah.
I hear ya. It's kind of that time of year. It's everything falls in on you at the same time, and you have to really start choosing your battles.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll now move on to 3 of the repurposing items that I think are worth mentioning. We both think that are worth mentioning that we didn't get to last time. So it is plants, bills and papers for mulch, and wedding dresses. So I'll start talking about the plants. And what I mean by repurposing plants is that we Derek lived in this house 10 years before I did, and he didn't really have an opportunity, I'd like to say it that way, to like beautify the outside.
Right.
And so when we got married and I moved in, I'm like, ooh, let's do this, and this, you know, but we don't have any money. You know, when you first get married, you have to figure out, you know, your debt is almost doubled or sometimes more. You know, our debt was, we put all of our debt together, so we didn't have any, you know.
Personal debt.
Yeah.
It was all family debt now.
Yep. It was all both of ours. And so we don't have money to go out and buy plants and make everything beautiful. So my mother-in-law, bless her heart, it was like, well, you know, I have this and they just keep spreading. Would you like a starter? And I'm like, yeah. So she actually, this is another one of the projects I have coming up here, hopefully sometime shortly. She has enough plants that actually spread on their own to fill up the outside border of my house. So I don't have to go out and buy any of it. And I think, you know how I was talking about, it's basically very expensive if you are going for convenience. Yeah. You know, I want it now, so I don't want to wait for this or that. I don't want to have to go make a trip to somebody's house to pick up the plants. I'd rather just pay this amount of money. And, you know, so, you know, it's not going to be the easiest thing to go make that trip or anything like that. But if you look at it as a perspective of how much money you're going to save, you know, because those plants, they can add up, especially however many you can fit on one side of a house, you know.
Yeah.
So find somebody who has a garden or, you know, a flower bed with different flowers that will spread. She has different lilies that spread. If you know anybody who has forget-me-nots, those spread very, very easily. She's also, I can't think of what the name of this is. I'm probably going to have it in one of our videos on my channel. But it's like a bush and it has pink flowers, like, and those spread and you can let them grow out and they'll be like a huge bush, or you can have like little sections of them if you want. But I'm going to, after I get everything situated, then I'll be able to show like all the ones that I have, and I haven't had to pay for any of them, which is really awesome. So I'm going to direct this next topic over to you, Julianne. And it is about using bills and papers for mulch, which I didn't know that you could do until you started saying something about it one time we were talking. The reason that we started doing that was that when we moved here to this house, we use a wood burning stove in the winter, and we got so used to just burning our paper waste. We don't burn anything shiny, and we don't compost anything shiny or colorful, because those inks are the ones that have like the lead and other bad things in them. So we only use dull black and white and cardboard. And what happened was we were using it for fire starter in the winter, and then when it got to be summer, we didn't have a trash service. We couldn't afford it. And instead we were driving garbage to the dump ourselves, or trying to find some way just to cut back on garbage. And because in our rural area, it costs like $30 a month to have your trash picked up. It was expensive. And so I had been reading a lot of books on permaculture, and they were all talking about carbon. You have your carbon ratio to your nitrogen ratio, and you want more carbon than you have nitrogen. And what happens is your nitrogen layer will eat the carbon, and that's what turns your carbon into soil, is that you have this nitrogen layer. And so when you're doing a compost bin, you're going to have quite a bit of loose, puffy carbon, and then you're going to have your nitrogen, whether that be manure or whether it be grass clippings. Anything green is usually considered a nitrogen, and anything really fibrous like straw or wood bark, or those kind of things is going to be your carbon. But we live in a desert area, and so a lot of raw materials is not available, and so I have to buy straw or carbon somewhere. And come spring, I'm like, I have all this paper that I'm not burning anymore because the wood stove isn't going anymore.
And so I started to use it as the semi-permeable layer that I would put underneath my mulch as a second light barrier for weeds.
Mm-hmm.
And it worked like a charm. And then I'm like, I wonder if I could build my own little grow box with all this junk mail and stuff that you would normally shred because you don't want it getting out into your garbage and people knowing your social security number or your bank account numbers.
Right.
So I'm like, this I really want to protect a little bit more. And so I started to layer the bottom of cardboard boxes, and then I would layer almost like a mini compost bin, carbon, nitrogen, and I'd create my own soil in that little tiny composting box. And then I'd put about 1.5 inches of potting soil on the top of that. So I wasn't using very much of the expensive potting soil. And then I'd plant my seeds and my starts into that. And then I'd move them into my garden as the weather permitted. And it creates this amazing barrier to get your plants off to a good start before any weeds can come up. Your plant is strong enough that no weeds can bother it.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it is awesome. And the cardboard box retains water in a way that a regular like row garden wouldn't, because it has the sides. You put the water into the box holds the water. None of that water gets to the weeds, and thus they don't survive.
That's genius.
Well, it's that if you don't have money, generally there's enough blessings in your life that if you just turn around and ask, what are the blessings that I'm not seeing? A lot of times God can show you, you know what, you could use this. This is a blessing I've already given you. Go ahead and use this. You don't need the money that you think you need. And without fail, that kind of seems to be how our lives work, is that when I think that I need one thing, I think I need compost, I think that I need the money to go buy more potting soil. What it really is that I need to kind of have a little more faith and look around me for those things that have kind of already been given that I'm either throwing away or just taking for granted.
It's really funny that you're saying that, because sometimes those things actually work better than the stuff that you would spend money on. Something, for instance, my mom's apologized several times. She's like, I felt so bad. She's like, I couldn't, we couldn't afford donuts, like to just go out and get donuts, even though it'd be so convenient. So she would take like biscuits, like Pillsbury biscuits, like a roll of biscuits, and she would, tear it so there's a hole in the middle, and then she'd form it into, a donut, and then she would fry them and have a brown paper bag of confectionate sugar, and she'd toss them. And I'm telling you that they were, and I've told her this several times, like I've actually, I'm over 30 years old. I've actually gone to my mom's house in the last year, and I've been like, she's like, so what can I make you? The second I walk into the door, and I'm like, ooh, do you have any donuts? And she's like, yeah, I can make you donuts. Like, I prefer her donuts over any store-bought donut or any place that specializes in donuts. Like, I just love how much it tastes. And so I've always told her, I'm like, don't feel bad for giving that. Like, I feel like they were the creme de la creme. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
yeah. It's personalized. It's personalized, and it's a memory, and it's
I think they're amazing.
Yeah, I agree.
It was something in front, and she didn't have to, go out and spend unnecessary money. So God's very nifty how he, he definitely provides those kinds of things without us even, like, it just blows our mind. He knows everything. He knows what we need, and he knows how to get it to us without, breaking the bank.
Yeah, I agree. 100%.
I'll go ahead and talk about the wedding dress. So if you think about today's society, there are two things that you can do with a wedding dress. You can either sell it three. You can sell it, you can save it to give to like your daughters if they want to have some of it in their wedding dress, or if they want to just wear it as their wedding dress, or you can have it, some people put it like in a casing type thing, because if you just have it in your closet, I guess it turns yellow. And so they have it like protected and stuff like that. So my husband actually had an idea about it, and he's like, what if Which, okay, we didn't totally stick to this, cause it's been a little hard to do, but he's like, what if we got dressed up every year on our, like, around our anniversary and took pictures in our dresses and like our wedding attire because A, we'd be using it. B, on your wedding day, there's only so much time you have to do pictures and only a certain location. So, and we're like, we can have, and it'll keep us hopefully accountable with our weight.
Right.
And so we did it for our first anniversary. We were actually in Gatlinburg, and there was this driveway where like all these cabins were and stuff, and we drove all the way up the hill. Like our car had a hard time getting up it. It was so steep, but it had the mountains and everything in the background. So here I'm in my wedding dress, and he's in his tux, and we have the tripod, and we're taking all these pictures. And these cars are going by, and they're like, woohoo! They're like, congratulations! And we're like, thank you! Because it was our 1-year anniversary,
What a fun idea, though. I mean, that's an amazing idea.
I like pictures, and Derek likes pictures, too. Like, I thought it was great when we were dating. I was looking at some of, he was like, oh, I gotta show you this picture. And so he was flipping through some pictures on his phone, and I saw that he had sunsets and like different stuff that I like to take pictures of. And I'm like, ooh, like that was kind of like one of those small things that you're like,
yeah,
oh, that's awesome that they like to do that, when you're first getting to know someone. But yeah, we actually, the second year, I forget what happened. We went on, a little trip, and we didn't take the dress with us, and so we totally forgot, and we're like, oh man, we'll do it when we get home. Never got around to it. Third year, never got around to it. So this is the fourth year, so before this month ends, we are going to take a picture. And so I figured that we'll just make it every 3 years, you know what I mean?
Right.
So we did it the first year, we're going to do it the fourth year, next time we'll do it the 7th year, so we'll see how many different times we can, fit into them and stuff, but
I love that. What a good idea.
And I figured, if the Lord doesn't bless us with any kids or anything, what am I going to do with my wedding dress? It's just going to sit in the closet and stuff. So we might as well have, and you know what's really cool too? I have strawberry blonde hair, and I told my mom for like 7 years I always wanted to dye my hair black. I'm like, I'm just sick of having light hair. And she's like, do you know how many people
would dye for that color?
All these boxes of hair dye to try to get your color? And I'm like, I don't like it, So then she talked me out of it every year for 7 years. So then I went and I did it. And I'm like, okay, it's not bad or anything. And then all of a sudden, boom, Derek proposes, and I'm like, oh no, now I have to get my natural hair color back for the wedding pictures. Because I didn't want my wedding pictures like looking like I'm a skunk, because here's my hair growing in, and then I have black right here coming down. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
I had to go so I had to go and try and dye it back, and it still was not the natural color, for my wedding. So I always wanted to have my hair down and curly and stuff, but I did not like my hair color, so I'm like, I had to have it back. So I had it to the side, like a side curly bun thing with a flower. But this idea actually gives me an opportunity to wear my hair in different styles with the dresses too. So not only do you have different locations, but you have different styles too.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I think it's brilliant. It's like, it would be such a fun... There's some people that do those pictures of pregnant bellies, like when they take the picture every day and then they speed it up over time, and doing something like this would be almost like a photo album, and kind of like a renewal of vows almost, because you're still wearing the dress, you're still together, and kind of showing the changes in your marriage as you go along. I think it's a brilliant idea.
And I think that if we get more organized, we missed the second and third year, which I'm so sad about. But if we could take it this year and then try to do it next year, try to do it as many years as possible, that'd be even cooler. Because, that's a good idea. Like, even to put those pictures back to back, like if we take the same pose, I hope we did that first year. but okay. But even here on out, that would be such a good idea.
Yeah, it's so fun.
Yeah. But so, you know how I was talking about people will either sell it, they'll put it in a casing, or they'll give it to their kids. That takes a long time to set it aside and wait for your kids to see if they even want it. So I was thinking about that. So then it kind of, my wheels got to turning, and I'm like, we should talk about what should we save for our kids and what shouldn't we? Because as an organizer, I'll tell you, I see, and this is a very, very, very common thing, is that when you have a person who becomes a mom, they tend to save the stuff that their mom didn't, or that might be important to them, even if it's not important to the person that they're saving it to. Now, their daughter or son or whatever might be too young to decide, and they might have that as an excuse, like, oh no, you'll want this, oh, you'll want this, you'll want this, and then all of a sudden they have all these things that, when the kid graduates high school, if they go into college, they're not going to want to carry that stuff into college. Like, so you're going to have to store it into your house for then too. So do you really want to have, a bunch of different things until they get married? And even when they get married, then they have to start saving kids stuff for their kids. And you know what I mean? So I guess the reason why I wanted to talk about it is kind of, I'd like to really pick moms' brains and really try and think about what you are setting aside. Are they going to use it? Are they going to want to display it? Are they going to remember that favorite toy of theirs when they were a baby to play with?
Right.
They probably won't remember it, but, you don't want to set aside a ton of them. But in an aspect, I know there are some people who do set those aside in case their kid wants to play with it, So I guess it's, it just depends on how many things you're setting aside. Has there been anything that you've set aside so far for your kids?
If there's, most of what I have saved is I've gone through their art that they've made over the years, and I've saved one picture from each transition. Like, as their art transitions, rather than saving every single one, I save one from each transition to show this is what they were doing at this time. Back when we used to have paper photos, I had pictures, of course, that I would save. At this point, I'm saving a lot of firsts. Paige, when she first started sewing, she sewed Kaya a doll, and it's a Franken doll. She took all these scraps and she sewed a face on it and everything, and it is a little bit terrifying. Her sister loves it. And that bond of sisterhood always tears me up a little bit when I see that doll, because Paige sewed it for her when Paige was 8 and Kaya was 6. And so she also sewed a fox for her dad that I will save. And I think I saved one of her first yarns that she ever made. So I guess what I like to save is those first developmental of everything. I'll keep one of, this is the development that you were going through here. This is the development you were going through here. But it all has to fit in one box.
Yes, that is what I was going to say, because I don't want moms to think that I'm dogging on them for saving anything. I'm not the no person. Don't save anything. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
If you wanted to save like the outfit that they came home in, because they're going to have a picture. You're going to have a picture of them in that. They may want that for their little kid. And then they can compare the picture. You know what I mean? Like those kinds of things, yes. My mom saved, she didn't save any toys or anything from when I was a baby or anything like that. But I had a favorite teddy bear that was purple, and it was decent size. And I had it when I was 3, and I just held on to that thing for the longest thing. Like, I kept it all throughout college. Because it was important to me, and I remembered it. That's the thing, is if you save some stuff, basically for the memory of it. But if it's something that they're not going to remember, then it's not going to be special to them. It's more special to you. And But that teddy bear, I would probably actually still have that and pass it on to someone else. But it fell. Okay, I just realized I'm telling this. But yes, I had it in my bed when I was 26 years old and single. And it fell off of my bed. And I was in this apartment that had like the old heaters on the against the wall on the floor.
Oh, no.
And it singed it. And so some of it, like it was dark purple. So some of it was red. And then some of it was yellow. And then some of it was black. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I am so happy to be alive, number one. And number two, poor Teddy. And so I even still packed it with me and brought it here to our house. And then we were going through some stuff. And I'm, asking Derek to go through stuff, and I'm looking at my stuff, and I'm like, I'm going to get rid of it. And he's like, are you sure? And I'm like, yeah, it was a great memory and stuff, but I'm not going to do anything with it, and it's kind of ruined, And so I got rid of it, and it didn't hurt me as much as I thought it would. It just, you kind of have to think about, also when you save those things, number one, you are taking up space in your house, if you do an abundance of things that you're setting aside. Number two, they're going to have to take their time to go through that stuff and figure out how they're going to store it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if you can fit it in one box, that would be good. You know what I mean? Yeah. To have a memorabilia box, but I don't know. Do it on a dime. She actually, and I've always said, taking pictures of items instead of keeping the actual items is way better. Saves a lot of space, if you want to still remember it and be able to look at it, but don't have the room. She has a really good video, and I've actually spoke in front of a couple of MOPS groups. It's moms of preschoolers. And I always suggest to go watch this video on YouTube. And it's funny because some of them have never been on YouTube. And I'm like, just ask your kids or, how to get on it. But I think the title of it is Sentimental Clutter. It might be Purging Sentimental Clutter. I think that's what it's called. But that by far is my favorite one of hers because like I'm watching it and I'm like, yep, yes, that's so true. And, it's good stuff. She actually takes one of her bins of memorabilia that she has not seen in like years, and she goes through it while she's videotaping. So it's not any like pre-planned or anything like that. So it gives really good example of the stuff that you would save or what you wouldn't. So yeah, that's basically what I wanted to talk about is, just keeping it in one box and stuff like that. Is there anything that you thought that you would save and then you kind of changed your mind about?
I go through it periodically. Whenever it starts to overflow, I go through, like I have old journals that were mine as a kid. And periodically I will go through and do the same thing that I've done for my kids, where I will save something from a transitionary point in my life just to take a small snapshot, like a journal entry. But I won't keep all my journals. I will weed through it and burn what I think is not educational for my kids to read about me. I don't want them to have to be bogged down with like trying to get through all the, oh, I pity poor me, I'm a teenager years. And so I do the same thing for myself, and occasionally I just purge through it. So let's see.
That's a very good idea. That's a very good idea.
I just, my family tends to be hoarders on both sides. One side is prepper, the other side is emotional hoarding. And so I have to be, I try to purge that part of my soul.
When did you know that you were going to go ahead and do homesteading, be a homesteader? When did you decide that you weren't going to go out and stay at whatever job you were at, or what made you decide that, and when?
It was when I was preparing my senior thesis for my bachelor's degree, and it was on food miles and the number of calories in fuel that it costs in order to make 1 calorie of food that we consume. And when I delivered my senior thesis, it was about how home production can save us from going through fuel as a country so quickly, and to save us from being so consumption driven. And I remember my professor looking at me and saying, well, it's a nice thought, but nobody's going to do it. and it won't make a difference. Yeah, it won't make a difference if everybody's not doing it. And so I'm like, well, I'm going to prove to you that it can be done and that it makes a difference.
Does he watch your YouTube or does he know?
And it was a she. Her name's Maxine, Max for short, and she was an amazing professor. She was very level-headed, but it was obvious that she really didn't think the world was worth saving, as far as like she saw the damage being done to the environment and stuff, and she just felt like public policy always made things worse rather than better, and so she had kind of in essence given up on being able to make a difference. And but I feel like she was really focused on the consumer end of it, as far as like being a retail driven society. And I was like, but I've seen my mom do it. I know it can be done because she did it. So yeah. So okay. Yes.
Me, I would actually like send her an email and be like, hey, stop on by my channel.
I should. I really should. Yeah. I should go hunt her down.
Hope, and then when she's teaching and stuff, it'll come out in her teaching as well. So maybe instead of being like, nobody's going to do it, maybe she's going to be like, you can make a difference. It could totally change her point of view. You never know.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't. You never know. And she was really supportive about it. She just she didn't think that it was a viable option. So it was kind of an interesting situation. But okay, so my question for you is, maybe it was too personal. The one I had was kind of on a more personal note. So how did you know that your husband was the one that you wanted to marry?
Okay, so I met him when I was 26, and before that, I had dated a ton of people. Like, I know I'm not saying that to make it sound bad or anything, but the reason why I'm saying that is because I knew what I wanted. I had dated enough people to know what questions to ask, what I'm looking for, who I could see myself with, and the people I dated before him, like, I even tried to go way outside of what, the type of person I could see myself with, and then I'm like, yep, nope, that isn't it. And it just proved itself right. So,
right.
When he actually came to pick me up, I opened the door, and he walked up, and he shook my hand and, introduced himself. And my very first thought was, he is hot. My second thought was, I could marry this guy. Like, it just came into my head. Like, all he did was introduce himself. And so he, I was finishing getting ready, so I told him to come in. And then I had license plates on my wall because I had just moved back from Texas, and like about a year ago. And he saw those license plates, and I think it said Cinnabon on it. And he's like, can I take a picture of this to show my friend? I'm like, and I love pictures. And so I'm like, sure, and just on that first date, like, everything went great. And I think I'm good at reading people, at least their reactions to how I talk to them. Bless you.
Sorry, excuse me. I didn't want to interrupt and say, I'm sorry, excuse me. Sorry. Reactions to people, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. I asked him about God, and it was actually the first person that I dated. Like, when I was in high school, oh gosh, I have to tell you this, and I think any mom would appreciate my family for doing this. With my dad having 5 girls, we had what we called the interview. So if you wanted to date me, number one, I couldn't talk on the phone, couldn't ride in a car with a guy, couldn't date anyone until I was 16. Then when I was 16, the
Right.
interviews started. And if you wanted to date me, you had to drive your car with just my dad in the passenger seat, asking you, what church do you go to? How do you know that you're saved? What's your 5-year plans? What's your intentions with my daughter? Where do you work? What grades you get? Like, all of these questions. Yeah. And if he didn't approve, then we didn't date. And we always give my sister a hard time because she had a guy show up for the interview and he had a Megadeth sticker on the back of his car. And my mom's like, really? And we kind of laugh about it now, but yeah, there wasn't really anybody who passed or anything like that, you know. So I liked it because I was able to enjoy my friends, enjoy my youth, you know, when I was in high school, to concentrate on that stuff. So that being said, when my parents were prepping me to date, they said, I told them, you know, oh, I like this guy. They're like, is he a Christian? I'm like, I don't know. And they're like, you didn't ask him? And I'm like, well, no, even though it was important to me, I was a teenager. I felt so embarrassed to ask, you know, but
right.
When I was 26, I'm just like, any guy that I had dated up until then, I would try to go off context clues and, you know, and that's how I would find out if they were or they weren't. But with Derek, we just flat out started talking about God. And him and I actually both were trying to get back on track. And him and I both drank. And so after we started dating in June. In early October 2011, we both decided to quit drinking together.
Yeah.
And so we haven't had one drop of alcohol since. So in October, it'll be 5 years. And this is before we were engaged. And so I don't know. I just knew right away because I'm like, and you know, a lot of people, when we got engaged after 5 months, you know, a lot of people were like, that's a little fast, don't you think? And I'm like, well, the thing is that we were very forward about our questioning. There was no beating around the bush and, you know, oh, eventually I'll learn this about that person. No, I actually started talking to him about his finances when we were dating and, you know, getting him on a payment schedule and just starting to get things in order. Like, I just knew, like, I don't know how else to describe it. There was just no other person that, no matter what they looked like or anything like I wasn't interested in anybody else. You know, I was a waitress at the time and I even wore like a fake engagement ring because I didn't want people hitting on me. And when they did, like, I literally, any guy that hit on me, I would view them as like a brother. So it was just disgusting to me because there wasn't any other, you know, potentials out there. So that's basically how I knew. He was godly. Him and I talked through a bunch of stuff. Like, one of the people who found out we were engaged after 5 months, they're like, you know, well, you haven't even had your real first fight. And I'm like, and yeah, we did. We already had it, you know. We had really gotten to know each other very quickly because, as you can tell, I'm very outspoken and my husband is too. And it just, I don't know.
It's better that way. It's so much better that way. There's no point hiding behind false pretenses or faces when you're looking for a soulmate. You don't want to hide who you really are.
And, you know, I don't know what you can tell teens differently to, you know, because, you know, as an adult, when you were dating someone, you were basically looking at somebody that you could marry. So you want to know if they're Christian. Are they going to pray over your kids when they're sick? Are they going to take you to, you know, are they going to be the head of the household? Are they going to lead a godly life? And so my mom, knowing this, you know, her telling me, well, is he a Christian? And me saying, I don't know. Like, how do we talk to teenagers who are going through that stage? Like, what thing can we say differently to encourage them to have that kind of, what do you call it? Like, self-esteem that you can ask them if they are a Christian, because essentially you are looking at somebody to spend the rest of your life with, and you don't want to be unequally yoked. You don't want to,
Yeah.
because you just can't,
Yeah. I think we should do a whole podcast on this because I think you're right. I really think we should. I think we should call it something along the lines of how to find a godly mate and how to keep them, because I think there is a divide there and a lack of common sense in showing your true self when you're dating. Because John and I did exactly the same thing before we dated, when we were just having a telephone conversation because we were friends. We kind of exposed our souls to each other as far as like, well, if we're going to date, I need you to know this about me. And I want to know this about you. And just so that there's no point in us dating if we're not on the same page about why we're here and where we're going and what our beliefs are. And it was so refreshing because there was never any question about whether or not we liked each other. There was no question that, but what was questionable was whether or not we wanted to waste time dating somebody, because we were in our late 20s too. I didn't want to waste time dating somebody, experimenting to see if we could get along, if our goals weren't the same as far as were we going to go to church, were we going to have kids, and those kind of things. And rather than having embarrassment about having those conversations, instead, I think it's incredibly responsible.
When you said you don't want to waste your time dating, the reason why I had a lot of boyfriends was because I would do 3 months, and if by 3 months I didn't think they were the one, they were gone.
Yeah.
And so my friends called it the 3-month curse. And I'm just like,
yeah.
You know what? I don't see it. I'm like, I think I'm done. And they're like, really? And I'm like, yeah, it's just not, because I've always been the type where I know if it's going to work out. I know what things to look for. God gives you discernment because you ask for it. If you're open, if you are going to listen to his voice. I saw red flags in certain people and I'm just like, nope.
Yeah.
There's a guy I dated and on the first date, he said GD and I'm like, next.
Yeah.
There's no way, so
yeah.
You just have to listen to those red flags, even no matter how much you like the guy, because it doesn't matter how much you like the guy now. You can't let that get in the way of the red flags, the discernment that God is giving you, that person is not the right one, because you will find the right one and it'll be so much better. Like for you, you'll, get that love reciprocated, and it's, oh yeah, we could definitely have a show about that.
Yeah. And I think like you were talking before, it has so much to do with the way that your dad respects you and your place in his home. Because I dated a lot, and that's why when I did get to John, I was like, I'm done with the dating. I'm only going to spend time with people that I think I could be with and be married to. And I think it had, and I was engaged a lot of times when I was in my early 20s, just because as a Christian, it was a matter of looking for a soulmate, and a lot of these boys were ready to be married, and yet I always followed my dad's advice when he saw red flags. And when it came to John, I never asked my dad if he saw red flags. I already knew. And so, but with all my other boys that I had dated or been engaged to, I had asked my dad for advice and his take on them. And I never asked with John. I never asked him what he thought of John, because it got to the point where I didn't care. This is who I want. So yeah, we should do that podcast. We should totally do that podcast. It would be an awesome podcast.
Okay.
I know, right? So if you'd like to support our podcast, you can go to our webpage, which is jillsofalltradespodcast.com. That's because Jills of All Trades was gone, so we had to put the podcast on the end. So make sure to look for that. And make sure to share it with somebody that you think would enjoy listening to us ramble on about the things we care about.
Also, you can go to iTunes and review us. The reviews help others who may not know about us be able to find us better.
Mm-hmm. And also make sure we both have YouTube channels. And you can interact with us there. You'll notice we both have our own area of expertise. And so if you're more interested in one side or the other, you can check out our YouTube channels. Mine is Dirt Patch Heaven. And for cute pictures, my Instagram is Dirt Patch Heaven as well.
And my YouTube is Country Crafts. And my Instagram is Country Crafts Wood. And we also have an Instagram, which is Jills of All Trades Podcast, and you can use the hashtag Jills of All Trades on something you'd like us to see or maybe talk about. You can actually go to the Instagram page that we have, and you can make a comment on one of the pictures on there, and we'll get that. And if you have any questions or anything that you would like us to answer during the podcast, we'll try and fit in as many as we can.
Yes, and thank you for joining us. Remember that starting small is better than not starting at all. There's always something that you can do to move just a little bit forward and to give yourself some momentum.
Absolutely. All right, thanks, guys.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.